Alright, gather around my financially overwhelmed but optimistic friends, because today we're breaking down one of the simplest money management hacks that even your most disorganized group chat friends could follow, the 50-30-20. Now I know what you're thinking, another budgeting rule? I can't even remember what I spent on Uber Eats yesterday. But don't worry, this rule is so simple, even a stick figure could do it, literally. Because here's the thing, managing your money doesn't have to feel like you're solving a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. You don't need 5 spreadsheets, 3 apps, and a finance degree from Harvard to stop living paycheck to paycheck. You just need a system that's clear, simple, and actually makes room for fun without torching your future. And that's where the 50-30-20 rule comes in. It's basically the holy trinity of personal finance. It tells you exactly how to split your paycheck so you can pay the bills, live your life, and still build wealth all at the same time. No guilt, no guesswork, no monk-like self-discipline required. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how to use this rule to take control of your money, avoid the where did all my money go panic at the end of the month, and finally start building a life where you're not just surviving, you're thriving. Okay, let's break it down in the simplest way possible. The 50-30-20 rule is a budgeting method that splits your after-tax income into 3 categories. The 50% is your needs, the 30% is your wants, and the last 20% is for savings or paying off any debt you might have. That's it. 3 buckets, super clean, super doable. Let's start with the 50% for needs. This is the grown-up stuff, the bills you have to pay unless you want things to get ugly really fast. We're talking about rent or mortgage, groceries, utilities, transportation, minimum debt payments, health insurance. Basically, if you're not paying it means your lights get cut off or your stomach starts growling. It goes into this bucket. Then comes the fun part, the 30% for wants. That's right. Yes, you're allowed to enjoy your money too. This is where your Netflix, nights out, overpriced smoothies, sneaker collection, or your once-a-week Uber habit lives. If it's not essential to survive, but it makes your life a little better, it's a want. Finally, the real MVP of this whole system, the 20% bucket for savings and debt repayment. This includes building an emergency fund, saving for future goals, investing, or aggressively paying down extra debt. This is the part that sets future you up for success while present you tries to avoid burning out. But here's the real beauty of this rule. You really don't have to be perfect. Some months your needs might spike, other months you can save more. The point is to have an actual framework, so you don't end up spending 80% of your paycheck on stuff that made sense in the moment but leaves you broke on day 22. The rule is flexible, beginner-friendly, and doesn't require tracking every cent like you're running the Treasury Department. It just gives you a simple roadmap to follow so you can finally feel like your money isn't ghosting you. Congratulations! You now officially know about the 50-30-20 rule. But stick with me, because this is right around the point where things start to get a little messy. Because a lot of people think they know the difference between a need and a want until they actually try to budget, and suddenly that $140 phone bill and $9 oat milk latte are somehow both in the same essentials category. Let's break it down the right way. Needs are for survival items, the things that keep your life running. We're talking rent, basic groceries, transportation to work, insurance, utilities, and minimum payments on debt. These are non-negotiables. If you can't pay them, your foundation crumbles. But here's the tricky part. Just because something feels necessary doesn't mean it actually is. Upgrading your phone every year is a want. Ordering Uber Eats because you don't have time to cook the groceries you already bought, want. Monthly fiscal subscriptions because self-care is healthcare, definitely still a want. Let's be real for a second. Most of us are experts at convincing ourselves that our wants are actually our needs. We'll tell ourselves things like, but I need Spotify Premium so I could focus at work, or I need to drive a nicer car for client impressions. But do you really, or is your lifestyle starting to blur the lines between essential and ego? Here's a simple trick. Ask yourself, if I lost my job tomorrow, what would I still need to pay for just to survive? Whatever makes the cut, that's a real need. Everything else goes into that 30% wants bucket. But hey, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You're allowed to enjoy life. But mislabeling wants as needs is exactly how people end up broke, even on a 6-figure salary. So if you've been wondering why your budget feels tight even when your income is solid, odds are some of your wants are wearing a fake mustache and sneaking into the needs category. Okay, it's game time. Let's take this rule from a theory that sounds nice to a real-life action plan. Because having a budgeting rule is cool, but if it just lives in your head or your notes app, it's not going to save your wallet. So here's exactly how to apply the 50-30-20 rule to your paycheck, step by step. The first step is actually pretty easy, but super important, and it's to know your take-home pay. Not your salary, not your offer letter, your actual post-tax, post-deductions, what hits your bank account money. That's what you're working with. For this example, let's say you bring in $3,000 a month after taxes. That's your budgeting base. Now we can get started on the second step, which is doing the math. 50% of needs is $1,500. 30% of wants is $900, and 20% for savings is $600. Boom, simple math. But here's where it gets real. Step 3, auditing your current spending. Before you start to pat yourself on the back and call it a day, go and check where your money actually goes. Open your banking app, maybe cry a little if you need to, and start categorizing. Are you actually spending 50% of that $3,000 on needs? Or is that $1,500 currently starting to include streaming services, Uber rides, and a $200 candle that smells like Tahiti mornings? Now you're ready for step 4, adjusting. This is where the real magic happens. If your wants category is eating into your savings, it's time to trim. If your needs are way too high, like rent is taking up 70% of your paycheck, you may need to rethink your setup entirely, like get a roommate or cooking at home more. And finally, the last step is to automate all the good stuff. Once you've locked in your new budget, automate the 20% to go straight into your savings or debt repayments. Set it and forget it. This forces your lifestyle to live on 80% or less, which is exactly how future you ends up thriving. Just remember, the 50-30-20 rule isn't about perfection. It's a flexible, beginner-friendly framework that gives your money a job before it all disappears. All right. So now you've done the math, set up the budget, and you're feeling like a personal finance god. But then reality hits, because here's the thing that nobody else likes to admit. Sticking to the 50-30-20 rule is way harder than setting it. Why? Because your brain is brilliant at justifying unnecessary expenses, like tricking you into thinking that $80 dinner is technically self-care, so it's a need, or those limited edition sneakers are an investment into your happiness. Or my personal favorite, the I didn't buy a coffee yesterday, so I can definitely get this $17 one today. That's how wants start sneakily overflowing into the needs column, and how savings slowly gets sacrificed in the name of treating yourself. So let's talk strategy. How do we actually stick to the 50-30-20 rule? First off, track weekly, not monthly. A month is too long. It's like trying to eat one salad in January and hoping you're healthy by February. Instead, do a weekly check-in. Where's the money going? Are you still within bounds? Secondly, use separate accounts. Split your paycheck as it comes in. 50% to one account for bills, 30% to another for fun, and 20% for savings investments. Out of sight, out of spend. Another tip is to build a fun fund. You don't have to live like a monk. Budget for fun stuff on purpose. That way you're not guilt-tripping yourself every time you grab sushi or buy concert tickets. And lastly, make savings automatic. Seriously, you're a human being with emotions and cravings. Don't trust yourself to manually move money into savings. Automate that 20%. Future you will thank you, with interest. The key here isn't to be perfect. It's to build habits that help you win by default. Because when your budget works with your lifestyle instead of fighting it, that's when this strategy goes from a one-time experiment to a lifelong money flex. Let's zoom out for a second. Because yeah, on the surface, the 50-30-20 rule feels kind of basic. Like, okay, budget 50% for needs, 30% for wants, and 20% for savings. Cool, what's next? But here's the secret that no one talks about. If you stick with it, this basic little rule quietly builds you long-term wealth while everyone else is out blowing their paycheck trying to live like an influencer. Let's do some more math. If you make $4,000 a month, that's $800 going to savings and investing every single month. That's $9,600 per year. Invest that in something like a low-cost index fund and let compound interest do its thing. After 10 years at a pretty standard 7% return, you're looking at $137,000 plus. No side hustle, no real estate empire, just a simple rule: consistency and time. And the real magic is that as your income grows, so does your wealth. because the percentages stay the same. If you go from $4K a month to $6K, that 20% turns into $1,200 a month. Same rule, bigger results. Meanwhile, the average person makes more money and immediately spends more. New car, bigger house, more subscriptions, and somehow is still broke. But not you, because you built a foundation. You mastered your money habits early. And while your friends are Googling how to retire at 65, you're over here Googling which Airbnb to book for your month-long sabbatical at 35. The 50-30-20 rule isn't just budgeting. It's blueprinting. It teaches you how to live below your means, enjoy your life now, and invest in your future self, all without overcomplicating a thing. And if you make this your default, you don't just win the money game, you win the freedom game. Alright, my financially curious friend, if you've made it this far, give yourself a round of applause. Because now you understand one of the easiest, most powerful money frameworks on the planet, the 50-30-20 rule. It's not flashy, it's not sexy, but it works like magic. It gives you control over your money without needing to track every coffee or memorize 16 budgeting categories. It's flexible enough to adapt to any income, and most importantly, it forces you to pay attention to your future self first, every single month. Because at the end of the day, managing your money isn't about being frugal for fun. It's about building a life where you get to make the rules, where your bills are covered, your lifestyle is guilt-free, and your savings grow while you sleep. So here's your next step. Look at your last month of spending. Just peek. Then apply the 50-30-20 breakdown. You don't have to be perfect, just get close. Start there. Automate your savings, cap your spending, and stay consistent. Because the truth is, you don't need a finance degree, a 7-figure salary, or a lottery ticket to build wealth. You just need a simple plan and the discipline to follow it. And the next time someone tells you budgeting is boring, just smile and remember, freedom isn't flashy, it's funded. Now, if you got value from this, you already know what to do. Like the video, subscribe for more, and drop a comment with what you're budgeting for right now.